Why you over there judging people? What? Are you? What you hiding? We gonna talk about it. We gonna talk about it because what you judge, you got. You know what I mean? Who you judge, you be. You don't hear me. Get the family. Come, let's talk. I got something I want to say. Hey, hi. Listen, I'm working on the titles. You know, I want them to be like boo, but not too boo. You know, so by the conversation, right? By the title that I gave you, I feel like you're going to know what we're going to talk about, right? I'm gonna just dive in there. I gotta dive in there because it's important to talk about this. A lot of people judge. I'm one of them, not gonna lie. Why lie? You know? And I've noticed that I have judged, right? Due to lack of knowing who I am, right? I've judged when I was younger. I've been judged. I've criticized. Like, I really had it bad. Definitely when I was in high school. Oh my goodness, it was horrible. And I didn't understand, like, why am I so judgmental? Like, it was weird. It was like, you know, and I didn't know I was judgmental until I got around people and they would say, you know what, Shayla, you judge. And I'm like, I don't judge, you know? And then I started to listen to my mom and I'm like, you know, my mom be judging. So, of course, you know, when you're around your family and your mom and your dad, you see, as you get older, you start to see like, wow, I'm really like my dad, or wow, I'm really like my mom, right? But something hit me as I got older, like in this stage now. Let me just bring the camera closer to me because I want you to hear me. Okay, don't my hair look good? Okay, let me stay focused. One thing that came to me is the people that I was judging, the situations and the circumstances that I was judging or critical of, I was either running from it in myself or I felt some type of way because they were comfortable with it. So let me give you an example. I remember I would judge girls who were very like out there and promiscuous and sexual and just went for what they wanted. I judged them. I'd be like, you doing too much. Like, I would never, making it seem like I was better than. And then it hit me, damn, Shay, you ain't doing the shit you want to do because you feel like you can't, but you have women over here that are displaying that you can because they're doing it. So if they're doing it, then it's possible. Now, mind you, I wasn't trying to be in these streets and you know, a thought or anything, but I did have these desires, and I noticed that there were women around the same age or a little older doing what I wanted to do, but I judged them. Let me give you another example. I noticed that as I got older, when people would make mistakes, definitely women, I was very critical of them. And I noticed that I would become critical because I looked at them as a reflection of me. And it's like, you can't fuck up because I don't want to fuck up. You know what I mean? And it hit me in that moment that we really criticize people in situations that we're either afraid of or we just don't want to acknowledge in ourselves, right? Because everybody's a reflection of you. Everything is a reflection, right? So if you're judging a woman for how she raises her kids, or if you're judging a man for being violent, trust and believe there's something in you that needs adjustment and you don't want to adjust it. So you're going to criticize, right? And you're going to attack someone else because let's be real, when the mirror is not on you, it's easy to flip it on somebody else and be like, you need to look at yourself, right? But it's not that easy to stop and be like, let me look at myself and let me see what's going on with me. You know, I know for me, and I'm going to just say it because, like, why not be real? You know, I would criticize people who was in their authenticity. I would criticize people who made mistakes. I would criticize people who just went after life. And I really started to notice I'm really hurting myself because one, I wasn't being authentic, right? I wasn't birthing the woman that I need to be. And because I wasn't birthing the woman that I need to be, I was uncomfortable in my own skin. Some of us are so uncomfortable in our own skin, we don't know how to let somebody breathe in their own skin. You know what I mean? We're so uncomfortable with our lives that we don't know how to let somebody live their lives. And people get upset like, no, I know how to let people be free, but they be the first one to criticize somebody's way of life, criticize somebody's actions, criticize what somebody's doing. and it hit me that you criticize what you are, you judge what you're hiding, because let's be real, if you're happy, if you're authentic, if you're on assignment, if you're in alignment, if you're doing what you have to do, you don't have time to judge what somebody else is doing because you're focused. Your mind is where it needs to be. You've done the work. You've healed. You've filtered out yourself and your own trauma and your own energy. But when you haven't done the work, when you're not in alignment, then you damn sure got time to look to the left and look to the right and be like, she doing this, he doing that, they look crazy. But when you're able to say, I've made mistakes, so who am I to judge? Or I wasn't in alignment, so who am I to talk? Or, I've missed the boat, so who am I to judge somebody for missing the boat for them? Who am I? It comes to a point where you realize like, oh wow, they're just another vibration of me. I love when people, I smoke weed. I'm not ashamed of it, right? But what I find interesting is, I find it funny how a drinker can judge somebody who smokes weed, and then somebody who smokes weed can judge a drinker. Like, both of us is doing things that's altering our perception of life, right? One gets you high and you're like, woohoo, and then one gets you drunk and you're like, you know what I mean? But both are alternating the mind, the perception that you see life, right? So how dare we judge each other? We're both doing something. I know somebody who would judge people for being promiscuous, for having different baby fathers, but they always max out their credit cards and they're always going shopping. They just can't keep it together. But they don't see what they see in themselves as a problem, and they don't compare it to the person who's promiscuous and has different baby fathers, right? They don't compare it, and that's the issue. I feel like judgment comes from a place of detachment, right? When you can detach from yourself, when you can detach from another individual, then you create space. And when you create space, you get to see, I'm not like you, right? I'm not in this with you. I'm not living the same life as you. I don't have the same experiences as you. I'm not you. And when you have detachment, that creates space for judgment, for racism, for that energy of like, I'm not on your team. I think a lot of people who are racist or homophobic or who don't like people with disabilities or who are really heavy in the judgmental energy, they have found a detachment. I know for me, when I would judge people, I would detach myself. I would say like, I'm not her, I'm not him. I'm here, I'm doing what I gotta do. I'm handling my business, right? But then when I would come into my safe space or when I would get alone and I got real honest, I realized like, damn, I'm really like this person. I may not be violent, but I do get angry, right? Or I would say, I may not be having sex with everybody, but I have sex a lot, right? Or I would say, I may not be drinking, but I do smoke. Like, I started to realize like, wait, they're really doing, like, they're really like me. They're just doing it a different way, right? They're moving in a different way, but I'm like this person. One of the things I find interesting is when people walk around and they see homeless people and they're like, get a job, do this. And it's like, how dare you? You don't know what happened to this person. Everybody, and I say this to myself, because, listen, we're going to talk about that later, but everybody is one bad decision away from being on the street. One bill not being paid away from being on the street. It's not like poverty can hit anybody. Sickness can hit anybody, So when we judge and we start to ostracize someone, when we start to detach ourselves from being a human, that's where issues can easily come about, And I've noticed from my own self, people who judge usually do not want to look at themselves, or they don't like something in themselves. You know what I mean? They haven't given themselves the space to really be authentic. And there's nothing more uncomfortable than a person who's scrunched up in their own skin to see somebody who's really flourishing in theirs. There's nothing more uncomfortable, and you can't attack them, so you judge them. Some of y'all are so uncomfortable where you are, you feel more elated in life and more energized by judging other people who actually are doing the things that you want to do. I remember I used to get intimidated by women who was living in their calling and their purpose, because I was like, I want that. And then I started to realize, like, hold the fuck up. I can do this. I can live in my purpose. Who's stopping me? Ain't nobody but me. And once I started doing that, I slowly started to follow people on Instagram who was living in their purpose and who was bright. And yeah, it still rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, because it was just like, let's be vulnerable. Let me be vulnerable with you so you can be vulnerable with me. It was like, damn, I'm still not where I want to be, but they look like they got it. And then I started to understand spiritually, they did something that I didn't do. They made a decision and then they took action. I'm just over here hoping, not making no moves, until one day I realized, like, Shay, put one foot in front of the other and just see what happens. Just see what happens. Start a YouTube channel. Just see what happens. Create a product. Do something just to see what happens. And as I've done this, I've now been able to filter out myself. Like, now I can acknowledge I judge someone, right? I can acknowledge I'm not perfect. I can acknowledge I do make mistakes. I'm seeing me through the eyes of realness, because I said I want to be as authentic as I can be. You know what I mean? So the room or the space of detachment from other people is getting smaller and smaller, until I start to say, you are me and I am you, and I cannot judge you. I can't, because the reality is I don't want to be judged. But the real reality is we all judge. Once you formed an opinion, it's a judgment, unless it is based on facts. And even if it's based on facts, it can still hurt, and somebody will say you're judging. So what I want to leave you with today is, next time you judge someone, first ask yourself, do I associate myself with this person? Right? Do I see them as a reflection of me, or am I a reflection of them? And then ask yourself, am I hiding anything within myself that's making me feel uncomfortable, and therefore I want to judge this person? And then ask yourself if you are on alignment, because if you are, you don't have time. And if you have time, then maybe you're not on alignment. Okay, let's be real. People who really make money ain't got time for judging. I'm not talking about these reality stars. I'm not talking about Love and Hip Hop. I'm talking about the big boys, the big queens and kings that make money ain't got time for judging. Why? Because they're focused. They don't see what's going on. They don't care what's going on. So if you judging, baby, you focus on the wrong thing. So I hope that you understood where I'm coming from. You understood, because my tribe will always understand me. Okay? Y'all be well, and I will see you on the next episode.